went into agent setup. We'll come back to agent setup in a few days or tomorrow, whatever it comes up. But I don't want to dig around their environments and their subfolders to find out the areas. Agent setup allows me to just search based on the filter search of users to find the quote-unquote account. And this tells me exactly what folder it's in. So it's just an administration folder. That's good. So what did I say earlier about access and custom access groups when you start restricting permissions on certain accounts? Remember, certain accounts, if you start restricting the permissions and what they're a member of and what they can read, then that account must be inside the folders you restricted it to. So their quote-unquote test account is an administrator folder. I highly doubt we gave these custom access groups access to read accounts in the administrator folder. So this account's not working correctly because it's not located in the right location. Right off the bat, that'd be my guess. However, there's option one. We now know that it is located in this folder. And what are we testing? Again, we were testing these access groups, right? Custom loyalty solutions, loyalty one ROT, and loyalty one application support. Maybe this application support has the reading. I can't remember how we can do this. We're gonna have to look at it. All right. So, test user, we know where it's at. Let's go to GAX, find it there. Administrators. There it is there, test user. There's the account, the agent account. It can be an agent account, it can be an ending account, depending on the level of access it wants. It's not really going to affect too much. The conflict comes into effect is when you try to make an admin account, like an account that has like admin level privileges within an environment, and you give all those privileges to an agent type. When I'm talking about an agent type and an administration type, it's this simple little check mark right here. Okay? So, and then when you look at the account, if I go back on the screen, you can see it. Agent type has like a little headset on it, and admin type does not have a little headset on it. When you look actually at the admin type, there's no agent login. There's no login for the account. They're not logging in the agent desktop. Okay? This account, I do have default places and agent logins option. So it's not recommended to give admin privileges to an agent type of an account. It should or may still work fine, but it's not supported. A lot of customers will come in accounts having issues or something like that. Well, unfortunately, sometimes there's conflicts there, right? They're trying to give admin level privileges to an agent type of account, and for the issue comes into play when you're dealing with GWS, HGCC, right? So it will have conflicts of its type of account and the level of privileges or functionality that it's trying to do with configuration. Configuration usually doesn't care so long as it has role privileges and permissions. But HTC, GWS cares. If it's an agent type or a supervisor type, then it has its own, I would say, its own issues when it starts conflicting admin level privileges for an agent type. You'll actually see it when I'm logged in here with agent setup. It actually lists the role types here, that this is what agent setup sees the account as, and this is what HTC or GWS sees the account as, right? And now you're starting to add all three types. An administrator is not an agent, okay? That is strictly how you have to word it to a customer. An administrator is separate from what an agent or supervisor's job requirement is. When they start creating accounts and just all of the above, yeah, there's going to be conflicts of your permission and privileges, and things you can do and not do, things that will not work when you're trying to use other applications. It's going to cause issues, okay? They should be either an agent. Agent supervisor is fine. A supervisor is just a glorified agent. They usually just have a few more, some admin privileges, but they're not an administrator. And then administrators, the best way I word it is If you have administrators that need to log into Agent Desktop, they usually don't, then they should have two separate accounts. They should have an agent's type of account, and then they should have their admin account that you go to their basis.
And then if they're using the same email address, is that
You
suggested?
can't, because usernames have to be unique, so that it has to be changed in some way. Normally, you'll see them changed as, instead of .com, they're labeled as .agent. Right? Username can be whatever they want it to be technically, but we recommend going by that format, so it'd be like, in this case, the username should be
Under that.
first name, last name at loyalty1.agent, right? And then their admin account would be just .com for standard email. When I create test accounts in environments, I create mine as my long account name, so Rpicford _ Genesis at customer name, in this case loyalty1. And when I'm creating my test account, so to do testing in an environment, there'll be .agent for an agent type and .admin for my admin type to do testing. Naming convention, best practices. So, test account, administration folder, okay. So here's the test account, user administration folder. It is a member of, so these are the groups it's a member of. Anybody can tell me what these slash groups are?
Agent groups.
They are agent groups.
Where the agent belong, where the agent is member of.
Yep, the agent is a member of these access groups, which is pointless for an agent account. But anyways, what does anybody know what these slash access groups do?
They're like subgroups.
Those are the folders.
I'll give you a hint. You were trained on it 2 weeks ago. Or hopefully we kind of mentioned it. Better have.
I'm not part of the
Not looking at the MACD guys, because they're not responsible for these.
So, yeah, maybe that's for recording.
Yeah, well, you got training 2 weeks ago on recording. Do you know what it does for recording?
I got a case before that they were saying that it was very good to play recordings, but they couldn't.
So playback is different. That's not, but in general, the slash access groups within configuration, like configuring a user, the slash access group, the only thing that access group does is enables a user to see interactions in SpeechMinder UI. That's it. So the access group, think of it like a folder structure you see across your browser bar or whatever when you're accessing a folder within Windows. The slash access group matches a recording option put on an agent account, okay? It's called the recording hierarchy, okay? So the recording hierarchy written on an agent account option puts the recordings the agent gets, so he takes a call, he gets recorded, it puts it in a certain bucket based on the recording hierarchy. All right, that recording hierarchy matches word for word, spelling for spelling, capital letters and everything, this access group, okay? So if I'm the agent, I'm taking a call, I get recorded, my recording goes to the bucket, okay? And then as a supervisor, say you're my supervisor and you need to listen to my recordings and you're logging into SpeechMinder, you need to be a member of the access group that matches my recording hierarchy. And then you can see my recordings. So in this case, this user is restricted to only see member experience and RTO buckets. All right, there are probably half a dozen more other buckets in here. Take a quick look. One, recording hierarchies. So they only have a couple, a handful. So they're restricting their users that log in, their supervisors that log into SpeechMinder, they're restricting them to only see agent buckets or agent recordings in these certain buckets. Now, if I wanted to see all of them, maybe I'm an administrator and need to see all the teams, and then I go one level down, just like a folder, right?
Okay.
This will give me permission at the root level for them. And then I can see every team's bucket. Kind of thing. But if I didn't want to see every team bucket, if I only needed to see RTO, then I would only be a member of that. That's all these access groups do. The slash ones, that's all they do. So they're easy to understand once you understand what they do and what they're used for. If you don't support SpeechMiner, you really don't care about it. Yeah, so you have a bunch of other access groups in this. And the only other one, what was the one they were a member of? Teams, loyalty, order. So they're a member of 2 slash groups and then this loyalty 1 RTO. This loyalty 1 RTO access group has these roles. So we're giving them all of these role privileges for these different applications. Okay? Agent setup, they have supervisor level and user level. Why they have both, I don't know. But anyways, they have both. We'll come back to agent setup specifically. Designer, so they have business user level access to designer. That's why their first question came in, they can modify the tables and stuff. Well, read that little blurb, yeah, they can modify tables because that's the way that rolls. Pulse user, so they have basic pulse user and platform supervisor. So I'm assuming they renamed their platform roles based on PS when they deployed them to platform supervisor instead of just supervisor. I don't know if that's a new thing or not. Permissions. I don't even look at that right now. It is. So
Is there any easy way to know what are the permissions of that access group? Like for the slash access group?
slash groups? No. You just have to know it, what it does and what it doesn't do. Okay? The slash groups don't have any affiliation or association within configuration to know what it does. It's actually on SNconfig that that's used for. It pulls in those slash groups association, and then it uses it in SNconfig, which again we don't have access to nor repair at the moment. So you just have to know what those slash groups do, and that's it. If you don't support SpeechMiner, again, they're not groups that you need to care about. So, issues were to lack of permissions on users. All changes on the dashboard could not be saved, and then changes could not be saved in sufficient permissions to complete operations. Cool. And then this user was the administrator folder. I'm wondering why they were able to log into the account in the first place. Oh, yep, look at that. So they're able to log into the account in the first place. That's the way we configured it. We configured it on the default application to authenticate their password. And then after the default application, we enabled re-permission on the environment, right, level. And then from the environment level, we went to the root person folder down to the loyalty 1 down to the administrator folder, and then to the user itself. So I'm looking at the user themselves, permissions the user has. So the permission the user has is they're a member of this group, loyalty 1 RTO, and only this group. This is the only one giving them any privileges or permissions, right? And then this is what level of permission they have on themselves, right? So Pulse Pulse dashboards, changes you make, get saved to yourself, onto your options, your annex options. This is personal customization that this tool uses, right? So if that's the case, and I only have read permissions on myself, as I'm looking at the test user account that I say they're using, guess what? It ain't going to work. Straightforward, right? A lot of things that require, which there isn't a lot, but anything that requires a user to write configuration to themselves, kind of thing, they need to be able to update themselves, update their user. So we did not give this Loyalty One RTO group update permission on the administrator folder. And guess what? We're not going to give them update permission on the administrator folder. That doesn't sound right to me, right? Shouldn't sound right to anyone. They're not an administrator. Okay? But I'm assuming they have an RTO folder, which they do. And I am assuming that we gave all accounts within that folder for the RTO team, the access group, update permission. So let's check out that folder. Yeah, look at that. RTO, access group. So members of this access group in this folder, this RTO folder, have read and update, and it propagates to all accounts inside the folder. So, problem one, unable to save Pulse dashboards, information, where does it get saved? You may not know that. You may need to ask a reporting person saying, how does Pulse, or where does Pulse save the dashboard? Where does it save the configuration? They'll tell you, save it on the user, saves it on their annex, kind of thing. You can't update your user account, your own user, then you cannot save the annex change. Okay? So, the only way they're going to get that is if they have update permissions on themselves. And the only way they're going to get that is if the bloody account was in the right location in the first place. Okay? So issue number one, going back to the customer, advise them they have the account in the wrong location. It did not give this Loyalty RTO update permissions on accounts inside their administrator folder. They need to move the account to the right folder. Okay? Issue number two. It's related to the exact same thing. If they cannot update skills on accounts, okay, which is a pretty insufficient changes kind of thing, this one is difficult to know for sure. Okay, it could be related to the same issue, it could not. Okay, the reason why it could not be related to the exact same thing is maybe they're trying to update the skill on an account that's in the RTO folder. All right, so they go to this RTO folder, and they go to one of the accounts inside of it, say we take this person. They have permission as part of the RTO team to update this account. Okay? I don't know what account they're updating. They didn't actually specify, nor does the error show it, but there is already update permission on this specific account. So as a member of the RTO team, I should be able to update this account. Okay? However, they didn't specify the account they're attempting to update. Screenshot doesn't really show us because the error message gets in the way. Yeah, there's nothing. Okay. So, issue one is unable to update accounts. If they're trying to update their own account, that same test account, they're just trying to update it, it's the same thing. They don't have update permission on the account itself. If they're trying to update any other account in the environment, actually, that is not in that RTO folder, my guess is they don't have update permission on any other folder inside their environment for this group. So if they try to go change another agent account in another folder, it's going to fail. We never gave them update permission to the locations. Only the accounts or the objects inside that folder were given update permission. for this access group. So, in the scenario, if they are trying to edit one of those accounts, and that's the scenario, that's why it's still failing, what could cause that? I don't think they need skills suck for the most part. No, they have update permissions directly on the skills too, which they probably don't even need. I don't know why they have permissions. So, skills, the emotional way to think about skills. Skills are changed in multiple different locations, right? And each one of those different locations have its own set of permissions, right? And its own set of privileges to go to Google. So changing a skill here, like adding a user into a skill and changing a skill specifically here, is different than going to the person and going to the skill for that person, right? See, on the skill here, and if you add update permission, you can come to the skill itself and then go to users and add users to update it right from the skill itself. So if I wanted to update the skill, is it that skill? Oh, if I wanted to update general options, yeah. There's not much you can do here, right? Dependencies. So they don't actually need update permission on the skill itself because they're not going to the skill, they're going to the person to add the skill. Which again falls into the whole, they need update permission on the person. And if they're not trying to update anybody that's outside of that RTO folder, they're not going to be able to change the skill. They can't update the account. You actually probably remove that further.
Gising ko pa lang ito eh. Gising ko pa lang. Night duty. Sakto naman.
So, any questions? Anything we need to repeat? So my update to this customer is based on the way they configure their own test account and where it's located is incorrect, right? If they wish to continue testing a custom access group that has been restricted to only be able to update accounts inside the specific RTO folder, they need to move their test account into that location. Okay? So that is their update. And then they should be able to have the update permissions as stated in my previous updates for that account to do the work it needs to. If their accounts are not located in that folder, they'll fail because they're not given those permissions. Straightforward, right? Have the customer move the account over, have them retest it.
How would you move that user exactly to that folder?
Any application, CME allows you to move it. If the customer is viewing it, they just need to actually click on the user on the check mark box beside it, and then they can move it. So it's here. There's more move to, and then allows you to move it over to whatever location you want. So that's what they need to do. They just need to move it. They need to move it into the RTO folder. Once they move it into that RTO folder, the account will get the update permission that that folder needs. Okay, right now, where it's located, in the access group it's a member of, that access group only gets read permissions inside this folder, right? And to save the Pulse dashboards, to edit users and stuff like that, inside this folder, it will not work, because they only get read permission inside this folder. But we move this test account inside the RTO folder, that folder has update permissions for this access group. So then the account will get update permissions. Once we go. But permissions can be configured at a folder level, that way it applies to every object inside it. Right? You don't configure permissions one user account at a time. Right? You usually configure the permissions to be at a folder level, so then any objects placed inside that folder get the permissions associated. That's why when you create new user accounts, you don't need to configure new permissions every time you create a new user account. It inherits the permissions of that folder.
That can be configured.
Hmm?
That can be configured individually.
It can be. It'd be unbelievably stupid to do that way, and it'd be really hard to manage. To give some people access and other people not access individual accounts inside the folder. Right?
Did that ever happen before when that accidentally edited or created an individual?
Yeah, the customers have permissions to edit permissions at this level, right? For their own users. So an administrator can come in here and remove permission by accident. Now, they don't see the same thing we see. So when they log in here and they see permissions, you may see a lot of accounts listed here because you're seeing all our internal stuff, remember. So a customer doesn't see all of that. Their list really is quite short because it is just their access groups they have permission to read. My final note on this case as well would be, we do not advise you to edit skills within DAX. We recommend using your agent setup tool. And they should be using their agent setup tool going forward. We'll come to agent setup and why that is in the upcoming days, but
There's a documentation on that, right? That they're starting to remove the DAX access for things that can be accessed by agents.
yeah, they're starting to get rid of DAX slowly but surely. Most of the functionality being migrated into agent setup.
Well,
I don't see it going away anytime soon. Other than the only complaints or issues you'll have to deal with is like, we just don't update DAX. Any questions about any of those steps? Anything not sticking in your head? Or what the issue was and how to resolve? It is difficult to know how Pulse works, right? Unless you work with Pulse on a daily basis or have dealt with this type of issue before, you may not know what's needed to make Pulse work in that scenario, right? If you don't know that Pulse saves its dashboards on the user annex, not the user itself, then you're not gonna know that that user needs update permission on himself. I only know that because I've dealt with it 100 times before. Right? And before, we used to actually give the update permission for the individual on themselves, which was a stupid idea. So we would add in here, see how you can add an access group or add a person. So you can give that individual person, I can give this test account update permission for itself on itself, right? And that's how we used to configure it, one at a time, which was stupid. So you want to configure the access group to be able to give update permission. So long as the user is a member of that access group, they have update permissions on the accounts or objects inside the folder. And then once you understand that about pulse, you can break down where it may be falling apart. For the skill one, I'm not sure if this is going to resolve the issue, right? My question for them is really what account they're trying to change skills on, right? If that account is located outside of the RTO folder, then no, they're not going to be able to change skills. If that account is located within the RTO folder, they move their account over to that RTO folder, and it has update permissions on the accounts, should work. If it's still not working after that fact, I got some more troubleshooting. I can't think of off the top of my head what that would be, but should work. So that's what I would update the customer with, tell them to go do, and then I would actually update them, advising yes, they should be using agent setup. Please go use agent setup and try changing the skill there. And are you having the same issue? Got it? Clear as mud? Nothing here privilege-wise, I don't think. I guess that would be my next step. So if they move the account over to the location, they're a member of this access group, and this access group has update permission on all the person accounts, and they're trying to change one of those accounts, skills, maybe it's a privilege issue. Maybe they don't have the privilege to modify skills. So there's privileges. You can modify a person account and modify the skills on the person account. There are privileges for that. Maybe it's one of the privileges or one of the roles. I highly doubt that's the issue because these roles are being used by other access groups. So I'm assuming it would affect all the access groups.
We still need to understand that who are they trying to date and what's not. So it's going to be a lot more specific.
Yeah. We need clarification, and you usually do when you're getting an error or something. You not only need to know the user logging in and trying to make the change, but the account that they're trying to change. Right? So what are you logging in with? And you need to really ask their username they're logging in with, because some customers have 2 accounts, right? Or more. So I've met one customer, they had 7 accounts. So they need to specify what account are you logging in with, and then what account are you trying to modify or change the skill on, right? Because I don't know what account they're trying to modify based on that screenshot. I don't think they're trying to modify this user. Yeah, they're definitely not trying to modify this user themselves, because the screenshot they provided already had a bunch of skills listed. And if they didn't have the error still there, then you would have seen the folder structure, and you would have seen like this. Like it's covered up by the error. So again, they could be trying to modify the account name, which then it should be working, and I don't know why it's not. So again, we have to get them to verify and tell us after they move their accounts, as their accounts in login. And then I would get them to verify and agent setup too. So yeah, I can update that case and go there. But that's basically what you're going to run into, is the odd, weird things that they can't do when it comes to these custom access groups. Something missed, a permission missed, or they're just not understandable. Normally, we would have not had read permission on the administrator folder. So normally, this would have failed, even on to log in. Because if the account was in the administrator folder and we didn't give the RTO group read permission on the administrator folder, then it wouldn't be able to read itself to authenticate itself on login, right? So they're like, we can't log into this account. Well, we didn't give that access group read permission on accounts, objects within the administrator folder. Again, move the account to the proper ROT folder where they have read and update permissions, and then they can log in. This is a common issue when they go to test them. This is a common issue for us when we go to test them. Sometimes we have to move it out of our Genesis test account. I don't think I have any other cases at the moment. Yeah, this was another case I got just before I left. Oh, all they're doing is asking for what the hell does each role come in? So we gave them the MACD guide, FCA, and our MACD guide, not necessarily when it comes to the privileges, doesn't really clarify some of these as far as what the hell does that state kind of thing. So all I need to do with this account is open up their help guide and look up these privileges, and they'll tell me what they do. So my answer to them is copying and pasting whatever it says in the help guide, and then copying and pasting the help guide link at the bottom and saying, please use your help guide for reference. A lot of it's straightforward. A lot of it is my dashboard. These are just specific privileges within speech. So, again, when it comes to your permissions and privileges and stuff like that, as care, EEC care, you're not going to be doing a lot of it, right? You're going to analyze it, you're going to figure it out, and maybe there's a slight issue with like update permission on the customer folder, right? Maybe just stuff needs to be added. Sure, you do a quick check and make one change, something like that. But the root level folders and stuff like that, you don't have access to, right? You don't need to. You don't need to make those changes. You can send it over to MACD to fix. Anything else, like the custom request scenario at the beginning, all of that configuration is done by MACD. So, not care, it's responsible for custom access configuration. It's a charge to the customer, right? However, shouldn't be a charge actually right now because we don't really give them the necessary configuration to do it themselves. So they definitely technically have to ask to have it set up. We will take a look at some of the roles for the different applications kind of thing. You can kind of understand where the roles and the privileges kind of do lie for each application. Like I said, a lot of it is already defaulted based on the scripts, and when you run those scripts, it populates those privileges. But again, sometimes one or two things are missed, or they're older tenants, and on the new version of MACD, we enable the functionality that they never had. Oh, concern about that. Sometimes you have old customers requesting a certain privilege, and they were deployed on the old version of MACD. The reason they were deployed on the old version of MACD is the application itself is an old version, meaning the functionality feature was never supported in that older version. This is common with like speech mining, okay? They need an upgrade to their application before we can give them those privileges. Pulse is another one. Some customers are running an old version of Pulse still, and they ask for certain like dashboards or wall privileges for the wallboard thing. Well, we can't give them that. Actually, I have a case for that right now, actually. Yeah, Pulse upgrade. They wanted the new Pulse roles to be enabled and put into their environment. I can't give them the Pulse roles because the application hasn't been updated to support those roles, privileges. Alright? You have to be careful. You can't just go check and put in the role because the Mac did definitely tell you to do it, because you can't do it because the version of the application is not supported. Those roles. How would you know that? Guess what? You're probably not going to know what version for what application supports what role.
We can find it out after.
Your only way or method is to verify with somebody that supports that file. Right? The only reason I know SpeechFinder is I support SpeechFinder. The only reason I know. I can't say Agent Desktop. Agent Desktop actually has nothing to do with my preference, but we'll come home to that in a little bit. That's tomorrow. I don't know. We got plenty of time. Don't we? Yeah. I don't know how long you guys want to stay till. Let me guess. A minute from now. No. Oh yeah, so we were talking earlier before the rest of you showed up of changing the start time for the training. Some people wanted to start at 7 for getting here based on traffic, stuff like that. And then getting out slightly earlier based on traffic. I don't have to deal with traffic when they're crossing a street. So if you guys wanted to move it up, I believe this room is available. I didn't see anybody that came in here that early. Or if you guys all agree amongst yourselves that you want to move it up to 7 o'clock, that's fine. You can start at 7, leave at 6.
Joking.
Australia.
No, I still need my breakfast.
7 o'clock ng umaga ang video ko nila. Ang start ng training.
7
7 a.m. And you're going till probably 3, 3:30. That's right. 7 to 4. Well, for the rest of the week. It really isn't up to me because I can work that shift. I get up at 5:30 every morning. I'll go have breakfast at the hotel at 6:30. I'll be over to 7.
7 a.m.
If it's better for you guys, because you guys all have to do the commute into here, and if your commute's better is earlier in the morning, then we'll do it early in the morning. And then get out early.
Those who are in favor.
Those who are in favor of 7 a.m. raise your hand.
8, please. 8.
8 man lang.
8.
But today, maybe let's start on Wednesday.
No, that's not how it works. If you're